Opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
Tailored Landscapes is actively preparing for spring. Things like new tree orders, getting equipment ready, and training staff to serve you the best they can. If you haven't already planned, now is the perfect time to figure out a maintenance plan for your yard. Tailored Landscapes is on the brink of spring cleanups for all their existing customers, and they have limited spots available. They trim trees and shrubs when needed and only mulch proper amounts. Give Tailored Landscapes a call at 402-432-2572 to set up a meeting with one of their designers and stop by the Tailored Life store in Bennett.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call today at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
Hello, this is Mary Pat Waite. I've had the privilege of working with Lincoln families as their realtor for more than 31 years, and I'm so proud to be associated with MP Dodge Real Estate. For me, your transaction is unique in its own way. My experience allows me to bring you trusted care and a really great outcome. My NP Dodge family shares the same client focus.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 402-434-2222.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Give your furnace a break with the help of Heartland of Nebraska Windows. Heartland of Nebraska Windows offers a free estimate, full window replacements, all vinyl triple pane windows, and a lifetime warranty of everything, while still keeping their prices affordable. Sounds too good to be true, right? Heartland of Nebraska Windows is locally and family-owned with their own team of installers. Give the window experts at Heartland of Nebraska Windows a call today at 402-430-3852 or visit them online at heartlandofnebraskawindows.com. Elevate your home or business with the help of Heartland of Nebraska Windows today.
Billy Currington is back on tour. Friday, June 13th, Pinewood Bowl Theater at Lincoln's Pioneer Park. Live in concert. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com.
Finally, a good reason to have a smart house. Just say, Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket, and we'll magically start playing. How's it work? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning. Now in our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
Live from the 93.7 The Ticket studios in the heart of Lincoln, America, this is Inside the Huddle with Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman.
Fires a pass, and it's intercepted by the Huskers at the 25, Jay Foreman. And Foreman takes it down to the 19-yard line of Oklahoma. Another big play by the Blackshirts.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Sponsored by Advanced Medical Imaging.
All right, welcome in Inside the Huddle. I'm not Jay Foreman, Harrison Arms, but we do got Jay Foreman calling on the Allo VIP line where they understand the importance of exceptional service with a local heart. Been a busy weekend, plenty of Husker events. Jay Foreman, how's it going on this Sunday morning?
It's going good, man. It's Inside the Huddle brought to you by Advanced Medical Imaging. 7601 Pioneers Boulevard will take care of all your imaging needs and then put together a clear and effective game plan for hopefully some pain management or just some, like I like to call it, Harrison, some look-see. Speaking of look-see and a clear and plan, I guess we'll a little bit about the Husker games and obviously some other Husker games that the Huskers got, a couple Huskers got drafted and a couple guys got signed free agent. But, you know, the Husker game yesterday was the first one, I guess the new era of a non-traditional spring game, you know, and so it's probably going to be a work in progress, but you know, for something that kind of changed a couple times, I think it went off pretty well. Not sure on the attendance with that, but I think that was pretty good. But you know, I think the one thing that's the hardest thing to do is deal with change, and I think you can change. You know, like the world, I think you can create change, but without still without totally changing. And what I mean by that is that you know, I think it was a good job of being able to play some football. Get some guys some opportunities, you know, in a big stage, and then, you know, potentially work on your operation as a coaching staff. So, you know, as far as calling plays, getting familiar with, you know, the play clock and all that, and more of a high pressure situation, which is not controlled, meaning in practice, everything's pretty controlled, you know, and you can run plays over in a game, you know, it's one shot, you know, it's either win or you lose. And so, anytime you can do that, I think that's a good thing. And then all the stuff that goes with it is that, you know, obviously it was good for the younger players and guys on the team and the fans. So, you know, I think it's going to be an ever-evolving process, you know, fortunately and unfortunately for football teams. You're going to have to decide where you are as a program, what you want to do, you know, what you want to get accomplished, you know, on that last day of spring ball. And there's arguments on both sides, and, you know, one your opinion, because you figure, like, you know, the spring game is turned into a celebration versus like when I played way back in the day, and things are different. They are way different now, where the game, you know, that was it, because, you know, when you played in the spring game back when I played, you didn't see the coaches no more. You know what I'm saying? There was no off-season stuff, and I think they have the ability to kind of continue along the growth process as far as installing plays and evaluating players. Versus when we played a spring game, you're off for like a week or two, then we're right into summer conditioning. We did some 7-on-7 on our own, but it was very minimal, and then it was more or less just getting ready for fall camp, which this isn't the case in this modern day of football. But then also, that's why it was such an important deal. And you know, the landscape of college sports was way, way different. There's not a lot of TV contracts. The transfer portal was not open. If you did transfer up or at the same level, you had to sit out a year, which really stopped players from doing that at any point in time, unless it was like a, you know, family situation or a really bad, you know, decision on either the school's part or the player's part. So it's really different. And then you have the new age to where, you know, the end is, you know, the work, you know, ideally you'd like to think the work is done before you get to the, you know, spring game or spring Husker days. And so if you do the work before, I fudge with it a little bit. So I think it's going to be an ongoing process as the rules change with college football. And what I mean by that, when you get in, potentially and ideally, if you get into revenue sharing contracts with players in the universities, the obligation and the ability to be essentially one-sided free agents will lessen dramatically. And so if you can get that done, then you might be able to get back to more traditional or more of an idealistic of what people are used to seeing, across the country. But up until now, you got to kind of, figure it out because it's always changing. You would have thought that the 105 and all that stuff, revenue sharing, would have been locked and sealed. Now it seems like, depending on who you talk to, it's going to be some guys that are grandfathered in for a couple of years, or it's going to be going, hardline 105, but nobody can really plan because nobody knows what the judgment is. And so that boils over into what you do in the off season and what you do as the program, during a spring game weekend on a Saturday in Nebraska.
Yeah, Foreman, before we get too far ahead, real quick, just what was it like? I know you were captain for the Legend side of the ball, and Will Compton was on the other side for the Stars.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. I mean, I like Will, and, we did our thing, hyping the crowd up before, and, I will say that, my team, the black team, won that. I didn't know the score. I felt like every time I looked up, my team was winning, but, they announced that Will, the red team won. So it was good, man. I think, we have much to do with what they were doing on the field. They had a very well planned out. So, our participation was minimal. I think, T. Farley and Rashawn got out there, I guess representing the ticket or whatever. I think Rashawn caught a punt. T. Farley was in the tire flip in the wing eating contest. For a guy that's about 185 pounds, he did pretty well, man. He had a phenomenal technique. I got to watch from afar. I could not participate in it. Buffalo sauce has butter in it, which I'm lactose. So
what about the bench press there? I was a little bit curious if they're going to try to pull you on there as well. I know Will Compton repped out 14 of.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, Will's been on the tour. I think I saw he went to Michigan and Oregon, so he worked out pretty hard. He got 12. I'd like to think I can do 15 push-ups, but benching 225 is a little bit different. To be honest with you, Harrison, I came out of my house yesterday, back again, and so there's no way I could have done the because it was on the screen. You would have got the full Monty of split pants. So that's the main reason why I didn't do it. But I also didn't want to lose. But I don't think I've bench pressed 225 maybe like the year after I retired.
Yeah, I know Will Compton's been working out and whatnot, working around, but I was still pretty surprised he went out and got 14.
Good, man. I mean, well, look, I think he's been out of the league a couple of years, and obviously, it's a totally different lifestyle, even though he still works out. To be able to do 14, I think it was cold turkey too. I don't think it was much warm up. And then when you think about it, the number that you want to hit at the combine actually went down since, I was in the combine. It was at 20 then. That was like, you're considered like, okay, yeah, that's the benchmark. I think you see linebackers now getting as low as like 16 to 18. So for him to be able to get out there and do 14 was, pretty phenomenal. And then, they had the fastest man and all that type of stuff. So it was pretty active, well thought out, well planned, and for what they were doing and what they were trying to get accomplished here in the last few weeks. I guess what they did, it was successful.
And what was the kind of like the crowd environment like? I mean, it looked a little more sparse, but I'm not overly surprised because there was just so many things going around in the Lincoln area and first year around with it. And I know Troy Dan has already made some comments, some ideas about how to keep elevating for years to come. But just kind of what was that atmosphere like in year one?
I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, the first year you just never know. And then, I think, at first, people didn't think that there was going to be a spring game or anything at all, like nothing on today. And so I think maybe there's a lot of people made plans, and then we had more of a traditional football game announced, like I think a little bit over a week ago by Coach Rule, and I think that kicked up attendance. So it was probably, I don't know what their attendance was, but I think it was, it had to be close to 10,000. So
when I say sparse, it still looked like there's plenty of people in there. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I look at it like this. This is no joke. I mean, Ohio State won the national championship, and I think they barely had 10,000. So now they haven't had the tradition of huge numbers, but you'd think after national championship it would be a little bit more than 10,000, but I think that it was a 10,000, and it was a ton of energy in there, and that's the thing that people that were there, and I think they had it was a pretty long and exciting day. I think they started out with the Husker sale, equipment sale, and then they had the flag football game. I think the women's flag football game, and then obviously the Husker game, and then I think the soccer game, and then obviously the volleyball exhibition. It was a full day, and on top of that, I think they had the tours of the new football facility for available all morning, and so I think it was a full on a la carte. You can go down there and be there all day, or you can go down there and just pick and choose. And so I think that they're trying to make it an all day event and incorporate the whole, especially with NIL and revenue sharing, everybody's on the same team.
It seems like a showcase. Like they want to make it a weekend showcase of everything Husker athletics for the fall. At least. That's kind of the way I see it.
Seems like it. Yeah, that's what it seems like. And then obviously, volleyball at night is the bell of the ball, and especially with the passing of the torch officially with the first volleyball exhibition of the new coach with Coach Kelly. So it was good. I mean, I think it's going to continue to change. Like as far as like how it could be Friday, Saturday. It's kind of like almost like here's the equivalent, man. Like when I got drafted. Get into the draft after this. And when I got drafted, it was 2 days. It was Friday night and Saturday. So the first night or first day was 3 rounds. The second day was 4 through 7. And then they went to, I think they changed it from the first 2. Then they changed to the first 2 rounds, and then they went third and fourth round, and then they went fifth and seventh round or something like that. Or like they went the first 2 rounds and then, third, through seventh the next day. Then they changed it. Now it's 3 days. You got first round only on Thursday. And then you got, the middle rounds on second through fourth on Friday. And then now they finish it up on Saturday. So my point in being is the tradition has always been rounds and kind of get it in and all that, but then the NFL thought, it was a lot of pushback right now on both sides. They wanted more exclusivity for the higher round picks. They separate themselves obviously with being really good players, and then you had the old guard pushing it back where you're going first round and everybody else they shouldn't have to wait. You waited long enough, and now the NFL has turned into a thing where it's a traveling circus per se. They were in Tennessee last year, Green Bay last year, 600. I think I was reading 660,000 people, 225,000 people the last day in Green Bay, to participate in the drafts and stuff like that. So I think that's as the college football is starting to become pre-NFL or whatever you want to call it. That's not just on the field. That's not just with salary caps. That's not with just contracts. Every big time program or every program is a franchise now, and so how you brand it and how you put it on display, both football and then all the sports, depending on if it's fall or spring or winter or whatever, is something that you're going to have to consider, because you're going to have to continue to compete in the NIL market, you're going to have to continue to compete in the revenue sharing market, and you're going to have to continue to compete in the branding market. Tenfold, because as college football will continue to change, even after they decide this 105 revenue sharing, they will make an adjustment to it. There will be something else that comes down the pipe, and then once that's done, you got to be able to readjust. So you're constantly moving, and always on edge to try to stay ahead of the curve or not get left in the curve as far as competing in this national landscape of college football.
That's a huge reason why they brought in Pat Stewart as well. I can't remember which press conference it is, but Matt Rule did speak about that. Just the fact that they don't really know which direction it's going in. So even have a guy right there to just get in front of that. So that way it doesn't have to waste the time I shouldn't say time, but just waste the energy of Matt Rule, him trying to figure out what the best moves are. And you got a guy like Pat Stewart there who's going to handle that GM stuff. I do think that's just a major advantage. I'm going to be pretty surprised, if you don't see all those Power 4 schools start making sure they have a GM in place, because you're 100% right. I mean, this is just becoming is a weird version of what the G League is, to where, you go there, you're just grooming yourself, trying to go pro. And if you don't got a GM in place and you're a power four dealing with those contracts, it's just got to eat away at a lot of those head coaches' times.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's you got to be able to, you got to streamline evaluation. You got to build a roster. You're almost building two rosters. The one that you have for the year, that you're playing, and then you have the middle of the roster of guys you want to continue to push for playing time, and that might be the freshmen that need to develop and play toward the end of the year. And then maybe you have injuries and developmental guys, kind of like your tactics squad or practice squad in the next level, and you constantly got to evaluate those guys where they can be versus where, like the 105 and revenue sharing is at, and if there's some sort of cost analysis and production analysis. And then you got to make sure that you have a good staff or a good process in place to keeping eyes on all the guys that you either, lost out on in a recruiting battle, like a tight battle, or guys that you might want to get in on at different levels that could come in and help your program. And that's during the season. So you're actually operating in the present, which would be 2025, but you're also planning for 26 and 27. So, that's what they always do in the NFL. They have projection on what the salary cap is. They try to project how good a player will be, pre-second contract, after second contract, injury history, all that type of stuff. And so for somebody to come in and have the knowledge of NFL and streamline it, and then also he's able to evaluate players more. If you're trying to build a program that's going to try to get guys developed, NFL ready, compete, ideally Nebraska would, get to the point where you're consistently in the, college football playoff hunt. You're going to have more NFL guys and more NFL eyes. And so, how you think about things and how you look at players and how you view yourself in the present, time is also important. You got to make sure, you're striving for something, but you also got to understand that where you're at right now and how you can get there. And it might not go as fast as you want. But the only thing that really matters, Stuart knows and everybody else that knows that comes in here, is that as long as you win, that's all that matters. And that's the thing in the NFL. They don't care how it looks. They just want that W when you get on the plane and go home. And so, any of the help and the familiarity, and then also take things off of Coach Rule's plate, which, they had Sean Patton before. But I think also, bringing somebody in that I think they might have crossed over in Carolina. I'm not sure. I think so.
Yeah, I believe that's where they were initially, maybe not initially, but I'm pretty positive they crossed over in Carolina.
Yeah, and then the reason why that is just like Harrison State, I'm somewhere else and I approach you, how I like things. So it makes the production that much easier, faster, and more effective. And so, I mean, that's what you look for, because it's a high pressure situation. No matter where you're at, you always got to win, and you always want to win. I mean, that's the only thing that even you saw in the NFL, and it's obviously trickled down to college. When NFL coaches used to get jobs, and again, it's not about me, but I'm just telling you how things have changed. If they signed a 5-year contract, they really didn't have to start winning until year 3. And that was questionable based on, which franchise you're at. Now you're facing this, like Dan Quinn with the Commanders, where he comes right in with a rookie quarterback, boom. Even with the Chiefs, develop, Patrick Mahomes, not cut Alex Smith, but let Alex Smith leave free agency, and now you got a Hall of Fame quarterback. Anytime everybody has instant success, you get evaluated. This is what the expectation comes on your front door. It's no different than in Indiana. Signetti comes in there with 13 players or 17 players from James Madison. He takes over an Indiana program with low expectations and a really gettable, schedule. And next thing you know, everybody thinks you need to do exactly what he did, or why didn't we? And all situations aren't created equal. But in reality, the pressure to win is amped up no matter where you're at whatever tenure at the university. And so that's the good thing about it, is that the more guys that understand, and number one, you got to get guys around to understand and know what it takes to win, period. And that's in every sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
Know what it takes to win. And then you have to have guys and gals around you that are in every sport that know what it takes to win, that are willing to do the work that what it takes to win, and then also, really resetting or keeping your standard and your foundation clear, and not really devil into the expectations, because I feel like the expectations are emotional based, and that's what I just talked about before. The expectations are, we need to do exactly what somebody else is doing because that looks sexy over there, whereas we're actually living by a standard over here, which will ideally and hopefully in theory and then more importantly in reality put us in a better position 3 or 4 seasons away or down the road, because we're not rebuilding, we're reloading. And so, that's what you have to do, and it's a constant battle. And so the less that Coach Rule, I guess, would have to, scour, Ogallala, Nebraska for the next, great offensive lineman, and somebody else can do it, or deal with salary cap and all that, which he needs, he probably knows it, but he'd rather, focus on football and the things that he needs to do that are high priority list, should make it, hopefully the ship run a little bit more effectively.
Then it looks like this university just, we finally made it to a bowl game. Feels like there's finally some stability around it, not so much just kind of dread looking into how the last season went. So, and there is also the fact that you still get a lot more control in college football. I know we're referencing like Jane Daniels with the Commanders now, and we'll talk about the draft, I'm sure, in the next segment. But like I think like the average tenure for a GM in the NFL is like short of 3.5 years. Then that's the average. So most guys don't even make it, past that third year. NFL, it's almost unheard of to see 3 losing seasons and that GM stay in place. So when you have those guys who's Quinn, he's got Daniels, but that's how that draft is. It's such a crazy time, and why you don't see a whole lot of GMs trade down when they got those top picks. Everyone's looking for that home run. And because there is a chance you get a Daniels, that superstar value is so high. And we get to see some guys, some of those Huskers who I'm curious where you thought, how everyone fared out. Only 2 guys got drafted, but I'll leave you the floor and you can tee up what you want to talk about here on the next segment.
Yeah, I mean, it's, we'll talk about the draft and how people approach it, and depending on how many times you've been a GM and where you're at as tenure in the GM, just like a head coach, and how much control you have, definitely dictates, and there's a pattern of behavior. That's number one. And then we'll talk about the guys that got drafted, and also the guys that got free agency opportunities in the next segment. Getting drafted is a very, very special moment. Definitely should be appreciated, never underestimated. And so it's not as easy as people think. So we're going to take a quick break. Inside of Huddle, brought to you by Advanced Medical Imaging, 7601 Pioneers Boulevard. This is Jay Foreman Harrison on the 1s and 2s. We'll be right back.
Advanced Medical Imaging is the largest radiology group in Nebraska, located in Lincoln at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard. At Advanced Medical Imaging, they utilize state-of-the-art technology and blend it together with their compassionate, skilled team to guide you through every step. Whether it's an MRI, CT scan, or X-ray, their precise diagnostics help your doctor deliver the best care plan for you. Choose clarity and comfort in your life by choosing Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard and online at amimaging.com. Get ready for the largest dirt late model event in Nebraska, race fans. The Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series is heading to Eagle Raceway's High Bank Heist on Thursday, May 15th through Saturday, May 17th. See the greatest dirt late model stars in the country compete for $10,000 to win on both Thursday and Friday, and an enormous $50,000 to win 75-lap main event on Saturday. The High Bank Heist, May 15th through May 17th at Eagle Raceway. For more info, visit eagleraceway.com. Let's go Lucas Oil Late Model Racing. Eagle Raceway, just 10 miles east of Lincoln on O Street.
At Valentino's, we're on a mission for tradition. On every slice, for every bite. Golden baked crust, cooked to perfection every time. Savory sweet sauce that's made from our own secret recipe. Loaded with the perfect amount of fresh toppings and melty mozzarella cheese. It's the tradition that Nebraskans have come to love. From game day to every day. Valentino's. Taste the tradition.
I'm Karen Carr. I've been a realtor for 31 years. When I made a company change 12 years ago, I chose Lincoln First Realty, now NP Dodge. It's the oldest independently owned realty company in the country. Since becoming NP Dodge, we've continued our tradition of community involvement. Our management and staff are always available to offer support in marketing, technology, social media, and educational opportunities.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 434-2222.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
Spring sports are here and it's time to upgrade your equipment. But don't go rushing to your big box store. Play It Again Sports is your place to go for all spring sports equipment for baseball, softball, golf, and disc golf. Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And don't forget, buying from them is a great way to get new products with great discounts by also bringing in your used items for store credit or cash on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding areas. Bauer provides quality work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with a fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always, go Big Red.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC in Louisville has experienced hail damage, and there's never been a better time to buy a new or pre-owned vehicle. The hail was very spotty, some pretty light, others heavier, but there are huge discounts right now happening at Koppel. So please do not wait. Get thousands of additional discounts along with 0% APR. There will be a lot of people heading this way to purchase vehicles. So stop on in or check us out online at koppelcars.com. All deals with approved credit.
Cinco de Mayo is May 5th, but the party starts early this year at Tipsy Tina's Taco Cantina with their street festival on Saturday, May 3rd. Come down to 8th and Q starting at 1 p.m. on May 3rd and see llamas from Sweet and Sassy's Llama Farm until 4 p.m. and enjoy face painting and balloon animals with Miss Shades at 2 p.m. DJ Wyatt will entertain from 6 to 10:30 p.m. There will be drinks, food, and giveaways, and best of all, no cover charge. It's the early Cinco de Mayo Street Festival with Tipsy Tina's Taco Cantina, Saturday, May 3rd, beginning at 1 p.m. at 8th and Q in the Haymarket.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
I'm softball player Jordy Ball, and my schedule can get a little hectic. From softball practices to going to class, traveling for games, spending time with family, and catching up with friends, I am always on the go. I want a bank that can help me from anywhere, but also be there when I need them. That's Midwest Bank. They have the same mobile banking technology as those big banks, but have that hometown feel that I like every time I walk through the doors. They make banking easy no matter where I am. Your community, your bank, Midwest Bank.
Back to Inside the Huddle, sponsored by Advanced Medical Imaging. Here is your host, Jay Foreman.
All right, welcome back in. Once again, Harrison Arms on the ones and twos, joined by Jay Foreman on the Allo VIP line. And again, this show is sponsored by Advanced Medical Imaging. Jay Foreman, let's talk a little bit of the draft. Where do you want to start?
Well, I mean, obviously it starts with actually Ty Robinson getting picked in the 4th round. I mean,
is that about where you had him, roughly?
I had him a little higher, but I knew that it was a very deep linebacker, or not linebacker, but I was thinking about myself, but D-line class. But, before we jump into Ty, I think let's just jump into the elephant in the room and what happens, when there's a potential slide, or why Shedeur Sanders slid, how it goes into it, and why some GMs, in my opinion, keep picks or trade picks or not. Now, number one, what teams do or decision makers do, that's just a personality trait. Some guys like to have a whole bunch of draft picks so they can build rosters and stay young and really like kind of like the Eagles. They really draft really well, right? They like winners. They like champions. They like big, physical, fast guys. And so
it's tough to do though, right? Because Howie at one point was getting booed, and not even just at Eagles. So I mean, it was in MLB stadiums around Philly. People were booing Howie.
Well, that was because of the Chip Kelly fiasco and allowing Chip Kelly to get rid of iconic players.
Mm-hmm.
But what he did was he obviously went to the owner. Obviously, probably took responsibility, redid his plan, and then really dug in and evaluated guys and hired some really good coaches. Took a little bit of a flyer on Sirianni, had instant success. Got Jalen Hurts, obviously had success with him. Made the hard move prior to that of getting rid of Carson Wentz, who you kept instead of Nick Foles, who won a championship, and Carson Wentz was a bad locker room guy. So all that stuff. It's not just always about how what you do when you hit. It's what you do, or at least have the ability to do when you don't hit. Then it allows you to really get better at what you're doing. Now, this is what he does, right? Everything that he does, what the Eagles do, is kind of Philadelphia or Pittsburgh Steelers. Everything they do, they try to draft winners and thinking about winning. They're not doing any. There's a lot of teams out there that fake it. I call it they play dress up as Halloween, like they want to dress up like football players, like GMs and all that. Howie's not. Look, 2 years ago they got last name is Bird, the safety from Tennessee in the middle of the season trade. You go out there and get Gardner Johnson, and trade for him. He wants winners. He wants tough guys. And what he does also is he gets guys that fit coordinator system. So Vic Fangio, he likes guys at the second and third level that have the flexibility to play multiple positions. They go out there and get guys that have been very productive in college, Cooper DeJean, all those guys, and then they have no problem plugging and playing them. And then the Georgia guys are right there as well, and which allows you to lose some free agents. But then what do? Come back, they lost the big defense tackle to the Patriots. I think his last name is Williams, who had a really good Super Bowl and playoff run. They go get Ty Robinson because they feel Carter and Big Davis are ready to emerge as a duo. But then now you get a young stunner, and Ty Robinson is going to have to come up and be up the pipe and be a rotational player. And then you lose Sweat, and then also Brandon Graham to, one to retirement and another one to free agency. Well, they already had Nolan Smith, who obviously was a dominant in the Super Bowl, and then they drafted again another edge rusher. So what they do is they reload and they look for guys that fit their system and who can play. And then when you're able to get the linebacker from Bama, who really top 10 talent, he's 6'3", 235, 4.5 flat. He's actually a more established edge rusher than he is. He's a heck of a stack linebacker. But they had really good edge rushers at Bama, so they had to get him on the field. So now you're getting him. Then you can move Zach Bond outside, and you could do Rashad, outside. So now you have flexibility. So now you just, instead of having two players, you have four. And that's how they're able to do it. And so when you look at Howie Roseman, he's doing it, and they do a really good job of attacking the salary cap and getting guys paid, but then also very friendly. Obviously, big shout out to Cam Jurgens getting paid. But then, they're able to do that, after Kelsey, retires. And so that's where you look at it. Everybody needs to probably try to, replicate what the Eagles are doing, and both in the evaluation process, but then also getting football guys, right? People, that come from programs where you're trained and it's a guarantee and a standard that football is a priority, because when you become a professional making money, that's got to be it. And so few teams, know what they want, know how they want to do it. And the other team I'd say is probably, the Kansas City Chiefs. They go get the best offensive lineman coming off of a really relatively easy, and he's already well into his rehab process, knee injury, and he has no problem drafting him because Andy Reid knows how to develop young linemen, get them ready to play. And what do? You protect your most important asset in Patrick Mahomes, and then you reload on defense and defensive backs, because nobody likes to play more than man-to-man coverage than the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. So it's a pattern of behavior. Now it's on to Shedeur Sanders.
I was just going to say, we do have that text. I wanted to get to it as well, and we won't go full into it. But, he wanted to talk about Sanders and in particular that Mel Kiper his whole monologue on the situation. And I will say, if you
Well,
don't
it
like
is. I
that
mean,
stuff, watch the NFL Network broadcast. It's a lot less storytelling. If you're into that, then speculation, you can go watch the ESPN, but I just recommend NFL Network. I feel like usually has a better pulse on it.
Kind of depends on, it's a lot of personal feelings that go into it and what the networks want production meetings before this. You're not getting on live air cold turkey. I mean, there's messages that they're trying to get across. And so really it just comes down to this. People, you get, people love, like, here's what people don't like. They don't like successful people that they want you to be successful. They want you to be successful. Shedeur Sanders isn't a bad kid. That's one thing that's for sure. Because there's guys that got drafted higher with a lot more baggage. Now, I agree some of the things could be like tempered down, right? But the thing is to say and not evaluate it. So Colorado needed that because that's why Colorado's applications have went up. The money in Boulder is like quadrupled by hundreds and hundreds of percentage. And, you can say the interview process and all that. Look, man, when you get in these interviews, I've been in them, so I can talk about more freely than that. It's like 10 minutes. And they want to ruin somebody's reputation. You already can't. You're going to come in with a already. I would say the book is already written. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
About this with Husker fans, you're showing up at Memorial Stadium already giving your Rotten Tomatoes, grade before the game is already kicked off. So that means you really aren't there. You're just there trying to get confirmation what your assumptions are. And it wasn't a very good quarterback class, I guess, let's say sexy. And
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
There wasn't a lot of teams that needed a quarterback potentially per se, but then also the teams that needed a quarterback didn't pick one. What happens is this, and this is where it comes. This is honestly got truth. The NFL lets you know NIL and kids coming out of college, and it started with Nico out there going from Tennessee to UCLA. You are not coming in here fanfare unless we say so. But here's the deal. If you go back and listen to what they said about Cam Ward, you listen to Louis Riddick, who is the best on there, the most fair, he's the honest, and he has the most intimate knowledge. He said the difference between Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward is what Cam Ward has going on outside of football that will curtail him being what he could be. Now, his interview process, because Cam Ward has a really good story of, his dad's like a factory worker, and he's kind of, started out a small college, went to Washington State and really did well, went down to Miami, so forth and so on. But people forget, during the bowl game, planned or not, he took himself out of the bowl game and got banned, killed for that. Shedeur Sanders played in his bowl game. Didn't have to. Same with Travis Hunter. And then everybody will make an excuse however you want to see it. I like accurate quarterbacks. They'll say, well, you only did bubble screens. Well, so did Bo Nix. It's just however they wanted to do. It was a slide, and then it became a story. And so the best thing Shedeur Sanders can do is go in there, prove him wrong. And, the best thing, I guess he's in a better situation. I was a fifth-round pick, and I came out of college broke. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's showing up in the NFL with, tens of millions of dollars. So all he has to do is go out there and play football. If he wants it, he'll go do it. And as long as he gets a fair chance, he'll be successful. And that's just the price you pay, man. I mean, I'm Chuck Foreman's son. I was known as Chuck Foreman's son until I started proving on the field. He's Deion Sanders' son. His last name is Sanders. You're going to get on. It's not a fair deal. But also, I would say this. In his case, part of being Deion Sanders' son is how you get tens and 12 millions of dollars. So, you can't have it always the easy way. And it's just part of it. Every year it's something. You knew it was going to come, and people love to see, somebody like that fail. And some of it, a lot of it, sometimes you bring it on yourself. And so when you dish it, you got to be able to, take it. And so, it's a lesson learned. But if I was a college kid and I got a big entourage and I got a big, influence on those, you better pump your brakes, Jack, because I'm telling you, these dudes up there, first of all, I think if you talk to people, the boundaries will be followed. But I don't think they want to do that. So it's a really good snapshot of NIL and people coming in and always wanting to get re-recruited and all that. That's stopping you better stop that before, like a year or two before you get ready to go to the pros, because if you can continue to do that, and this is not the case at Shador, you can continue to do that, they will evaluate it on it. And you want to go even like last year's draft. Spencer Rattler, who kind of rebranded himself in South Carolina, was judged on what he did in QB1, a Netflix kind of docuseries.
Mm-hmm.
So they got, I call it revisionist history. You know, look, they're like they got better memories than a scoring girlfriend from high school and an elephant. So you better be on your P's and Q's if you want to get that money in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest 2 cents away from that is, you know, because obviously not in the areas. You did hear the reports the interviews go bad. Shador is a good quarterback prospect, whether you like the kid or not. I think the biggest warning sign is like, don't be wary of calling your shots. I think if I had to take a swing at it, that's where most teams were maybe a little bit upset. Was he, even though he probably did at one point in time, was definitely favored to probably be that second quarterback off the board. It's when you walk into an interview where you got the Dion and you're calling the shots, no employer wants to hear that. And now you're officially in the business mode. And whether he had a minute or major role, that's kind of where I land. Like, don't call your shot.
Yeah, he didn't. He was acting like he was a free agent versus a draft pick. Because when you're a free agent, you can dictate where you go because you have already proven yourself. Where you're a draft pick, and I'm gonna tell you, these dudes that draft and they're a band of thieves. They're petty.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You make one mad, you make them all mad, and so I think it's a life lesson. But then also, I think it's a little. He's a very mature kid, right?
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have any off-field like arrest or anything. It's not like he's a bad kid by any means.
No, he's not. I mean, you had the story when he was at the combine that he was always 15 minutes early, and he always was very respectful. But where he did was he got a little bit of a dose of reality, maturity-wise, in the sense of yes, and the good thing is, you know, him and his dad have intimate knowledge on all the owners. His dad used to work for an NFL network and knows the good and bad of it. Even though you know it, just like Eli Manning and them, and this is no different, except for Eli Manning wasn't out front with a Rolls Royce, whatever he had. They dictated the draft.
100%.
Number one, because the social media aspect wasn't there, but number two, they did it in a more quiet way and just kind of kept it. You never heard Eli say anything. You never heard Archie say anything. You just knew it was happening. He wasn't going to San Diego. He forced the trade. That's no different than what because they showed up to those interviews with San Diego and said, we won't play with you. But you didn't get dinged for it. Number one, because they're Manning and they're kind of like the gold standard. But number two, how they handle it. So it's just a tough test for him. So a little bit longer here in as far as like the draft of the Nebraska players. I think, Ty Robinson, he's a great example of selling. I know that, Coach Rule gave Coach Frost and those guys the credit because they, recruited him and then, Matt Rule was able to, take it to the next level. So it's a team effort. But I think for Ty, it's really good. I think, look, he stuck it out. He very easily could have transferred it probably multiple times. He could have maybe turned pro, maybe even a year earlier. But he got incredibly consistent, got really, really good, became a better leader, then was very, very dominant this year. And he went to the combine. Everything that he could have done, he did it. He had a good year his senior year, or a great year his senior year. He went down to the Senior Bowl, kick butt. He went to the combine, kick butt. He did good at his pro day. He did everything good on his pre-draft visits. And it just so happened that you talk about the Eagles, they got probably a second round talent in the fourth round based on the depth of the defensive line class, and that's what you do. But big ups to him. And then another guy, Thomas Fedoni, came in as a 5-star recruit, battled some injuries. He very easily could have tapped out as well and went home. Dealt with some adversity, but he had a pretty productive last year. Went to the combine again and represented to the fullest. And get picked by the Giants, which they need a tight end. And for him to get, which he was coming out of the combine was anywhere from like 3 to 5, as far as the rounds, and they get him in the 7th round. He's going to get a tremendous opportunity. And then Isaac Gifford, he's going to the Ravens. He fits right in with them. Tough kid, special teams, and they know his brother, obviously playing against his brother. And then you got John Bullock going down to Tampa, which I think, with Levante David down there, a former Husker and a black shirt. And with John Bullock is one of my favorite dudes. And here's why. when I was down there with Frost, he was kind of a hybrid safety special teams guy.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Rule comes in with Coach Corey and obviously Tony White at the time, and they challenged him to become a linebacker. And he had the photo after. He looked like a linebacker.
Yeah, and he was one of the hardest hitting linebackers I've watched in the past few years here.
Showed some flashes, and then this year he was excellent. I mean, besides Ty Robinson, he was the most consistent. He made huge plays. You got to think the pick six against Purdue essentially won him the game, and all the other plays. Right, he caused some fumbles and all that other stuff. His ceiling is higher because he only has like a year and a half of playing linebacker. So he's going to be tough. First of all, I know he's tough. I know that for a fact. He comes from a good family. He's tough as nails, and he'll be able to cover kicks and do the things he needs to do in order to make the team. And then he's going to carve out a path at, first and second, third down defense. So I'm excited for him and everybody else. I know Tommy Hill didn't get drafted. I think that's more of an injury related. So hopefully he's getting healthy. And then with, Nair, Banks, Ben Hart, and Scott, they're going to have to wait and get their chances to get in where they fit in. And then, fortunately for them, if it's not the NFL, it's the UFL, and that's good football. Get springboarded because all they need is tape and they need some little bit of fine tuning. And so I think overall for the Nebraska future pros or whatever you want to call them, the more depth that you get guys there. Everybody looks at draft picks. That's great, right? And I think that, what guys on the team now need to realize, the more you win, more guys get drafted, right? Normally Nebraska has 0. Obviously Cam Jurgen and Cam Taylor-Britt, but we've had years where nobody gets drafted. Now you get 2. Now you got to win more. You're not going to be able to talk your way into the pros. You got to win your way into the pros. And then once you do that, then you'll make it easier for guys to come after you. So hopefully Ty and Thomas Pedoni were the start of something bigger, but then more importantly, the guys presently on the roster got to take and run with it and win games. And then that'll allow you to recruit better, develop better, and then obviously win more games and then get more guys in the pros. So big congrats to them, man. And it's just, now this is just the beginning. Now, the old saying is it's a little bit easier to get there, 10 times harder to stay. So now it begins. Now you become a professional. Playtime is over. Every day and every minute of every day you have to maximize because there's guys out there waiting to get a chance. So being a professional is a big step up from being in college, no matter if NIL or not. But nevertheless, they should be celebrating and be proud of themselves, but then get back to work come Monday.
Well said. With that being said, we got to throw it to break here. We'll have one more segment on the other side. Don't go anywhere. This is Inside the Huddle. Jay Foreman here, starting to talk to you in a little bit.
Advanced Medical Imaging is the largest radiology group in Nebraska, located in Lincoln at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard. At Advanced Medical Imaging, they utilize state-of-the-art technology and blend it together with their compassionate, skilled team to guide you through every step. Whether it's an MRI, CT scan, or X-ray, their precise diagnostics help your doctor deliver the best care plan for you. Choose clarity and comfort in your life by choosing Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard and online at amimaging.com.
Buckle up and hang on. This is going to be a good one.
The fans of Kansas Speedway know how to have a good time. One that celebrates fantastic finishes.
Crash together. So close.
And family-friendly facilities. Trading paint.
We've got feuding.
And tailgating tradition. Burnouts. Beer. And barbecue. Oh, it'll for sure be a good time. And you are all invited. NASCAR weekend at Kansas Speedway, May 9th through the 11th. Get your tickets now at kansasspeedway.com.
Hey there, fellas. It's your girl Jordan with Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Allow me to get a bit sappy. For women, jewelry isn't just a gift. It's a timeless symbol of love and appreciation. You have to get this right. No fleeting trends or gadgets will make the impact. Every time she wears it, every time she gets a compliment, you win. Trust me, guys. You'll get your money worth. Until next time, this is Jordan at Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Happy shopping, guys.
You grew up on cereal for breakfast and you graduated into drinking coffee at some point as an adult. Now there's a place in Lincoln where you can stay caffeinated but eat like you used to. Control Coffee and Cereal Bar brings Saturday morning vibes to every day with locally roasted specialty coffees, Lotus energy drinks, and tons of breakfast cereals with toppings. And did we mention they have video games to play while you're there too? Control Coffee and Cereal Bar open 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday and 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. on the weekends at 15th and Pine Lake.
Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstoRats.com for amazing offers. And if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Call Bats to Rats today at 402-781-8691. That's 402-781-8691. Bats to Rats. Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs, from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197. Join Main Street Beatrice for their annual Beer, Wine, and Spirits Festival on Saturday, May 3rd from 4 to 8 p.m. with VIP entrance at 3 p.m. Enjoy an afternoon of live music and unlimited tastings of Nebraska beer, wine, and spirits at Envision Landscapes and Garden Center. There's something for all palates, and you only pay your entry fee. Food and snacks are available for purchase at the event, as well as off-sale beer, wine, and spirits from vendors. Tickets are only $25 ahead of time or $30 at the door. This fun day is for adults 21 and over only. Buy your tickets at mainstreetbeatrice.org or on the Main Street Beatrice Facebook page today.
A lot of businesses say they're family focused, but when tough situations in life arise, the business wants anything but your best interests. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring, and they will always treat their employees like family, just as they do their customers. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring Class A and B CDL drivers, a shop tech, and a diesel mechanic. If you're looking for a career with a company that goes above and beyond to value you and your family, apply today at jamesenterpriseinc.com or call 402-432-6740.
Get ready for spring by joining an evidence-based program to improve your health and well-being. These programs use proven strategies to help you make lasting changes, whether it's boosting nutrition, increasing activity, managing stress, or enhancing wellness. Invest in yourself today and feel your best this spring and beyond. Paid for by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Spring is right around the corner, and now's the time to get your John Deere mower prepared for the grass to turn green. To get you ready, Acres reduced the price of its John Deere mower blades, filters, belts, and home maintenance kits by 15%. Gator UTV maintenance parts are also 15% off. Regular maintenance will keep your John Deere equipment going for years. Warmer weather is coming soon, so don't delay. Offer expires May 31st, 2025. Visit your local Acres for details or go to acres.com to start shopping today.
It's the two-fingered wave on a gravel road. It's letting the kids take dad's truck to prom. It's Friday nights under the lights of a hometown football field. Eustace Body Shop knows small towns. It's where our values are rooted. We treat our people right, and in turn, they treat you, our customer, right. And we give back to our communities. Not much more small town than that. Eustace Body Shop, small town service, big city technology.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
You're listening to Inside the Huddle with Jay Foreman, sponsored by Advanced Medical Imaging.
All right, welcome back in. Final short segment Inside the Huddle with Jay Foreman. Foreman, what do you want to wrap up with?
Well, anyway, look, spring ball is over. Playtime is over. The spring ball is over, so hopefully hopefully the next time we talk about that to win. But obviously we'll be inside the Huddle leading up to then. But Husker Games was a success. Obviously the draft was a success. Definitely for Ty Robinson and Thomas Fedoni. And so overall for I guess this first quarter or third of the year, it's been a good 4 months. So hopefully onward and upward. Appreciate you guys listening. Tune in next week. We'll have some more stuff for you for Jay Foreman and AMI 7601 Pioneers Boulevard. I appreciate you guys for Inside the Huddle. We'll talk to you next week.